Good afternoon. My name is Bill Prater. I am honored to be giving my presentation today in COM 622, Organizational Communication. And I'm going to give you my interpretation of Chapter 4, Motivation in Organizations. I don't think I need to go into a large amount of detail about why it's important to be motivated and why it's important to motivate others, whether it's completing a need, fulfilling a goal. We all have that need for motivation. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. And so I hope through the slideshow in the back, and I hope you enjoy my slides because I have a weird sense of humor at times, and my PowerPoint, I hope I can walk you through what I got out of Chapter 4, and then I'll be glad to read your replies and read some information about them. Basically, motivation for me is summed up this way. If it were only that easy, set a goal, work toward it, achieve it. We all know it's not that way. So let's look at a little bit of history. The basic motivational framework is this. I have some sort of need. I have something that I need to get done. I look for ways to solve it. I create a goal. If I set that goal, I perform toward that goal, there'll be punishments and rewards along the way, and then ultimately the need will either be fulfilled, yay, goal completed, or the need will not be fulfilled and I need to reassess, did I have the right goal, did I do the right performance, etc. Basically, it was broken down three ways. First was the traditional approach, which was done by Frederick Taylor a little over a century ago, maybe 120 years ago. And basically he said, hey, money motivates. I know I want money, people want money. If I give them money, they'll do work. If I give them more money, they'll do more work. It's simple. In some ways, it's still correct. But we learn that obviously it's a lot deeper than that. We have more of a human relations approach. And basically that says, I matter. All right, I'm going to have more stake in something if I feel like I'm a part. First, we went through the human relations approach, which was basically, I'm going to let you think you have a part. I've made the decision, but if I pretend to put you into the decision, you'll feel like you're a part of it. And then we went more to a human relations resource approach instead of relations, which basically said, hey, it is right. Just because I'm not a leader yet or the head of the organization yet doesn't mean I don't have some great ideas. We all matter and we all bring something to the table. Leaders are obviously in there as well, but this motivational factor made people care more about what they were doing. Okay. Ultimately, this comes down to needs, and there's two big theories that dealt with needs. The one that most people are probably familiar with, I was before I started this class, is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically it says we've got to fulfill the bottom. As we fulfill the bottom tier, we move to the next tier. So physiological needs, once I fulfill my need for water, my need for air, I will move up to the next one where I'll make sure that I have a house to live in, moving up to make sure I have love and affection, so on down the line. And as we fulfill a certain level of needs, we move up to the next needs. Now, Adolpher, he moved up, that's Clayton Adolpher, he moved up and said, okay, it's simpler than that. Here's what I need to exist, here's what I need to relate to other people, and here's what I need to grow as a human being. And these were motivational factors in order to reach all of these attributes. And he believed that if one started lacking, then we drop back down. So even though I had an existence need made out of water, if I start lacking water again, I'm going to drop back down and fix that before I move back up to relatedness. Very simple. It created this dual approach, this dual structure approach. It basically said you would think satisfaction and dissatisfaction were opposites. They're not. What I need to satisfy myself doesn't necessarily take care of what's dissatisfied. And once I fix a dissatisfaction, it doesn't necessarily make me satisfied, it's just I'm not dissatisfied anymore. And it let us look at motivation in a completely different way, that we had to look at multiple structures. Okay, the other basic needs are the need for affiliation, the need to feel a belonging. It's why we involve in an organization in the first place, to have some sort of belonging, whether it's a work-related, a social-related, etc. The need for power. We want more. We always want more of something, whether it's money, whether it's prestige, whether it's an extra, whatever, we want more of it. And the ability to achieve, that we want to feel successful in something. There's this great feeling in being able to accomplish something. So this led to a few research theories that have been dealt with. First is the equity research theory. And in equity research, it basically says, am I getting a just reward for what I'm doing? Ultimately, that means if I'm doing an amount of work, I expect a certain amount of money. There's the simplest way to look at it. If I don't think I'm getting enough money, I'm going to ask for more money. If that's turned down, then I'm going to maybe decrease my work to what I believe I'm getting paid to do. It's creating this equity in your mind and motivating in your mind. So you want to make sure as a leader that you're motivating people in order to feel that what they're doing is sufficient for what they get. The second is expectancy theory. What do I expect? And I think the book does a great example, and I try not to create too many examples from the book, but I think it does a great example. Basically, I'm not going to apply for a job, even if it above and beyond has my, say, contract money amount, if I know I can't do the job or I know I can't get the job. On that same token, if it's not worth enough money, I'm not going to work to get it. Just because I can get the job doesn't mean I'm going to take it. It's finding that balance of what I expect to get based on the performance I get, and will I get the outcome that I feel I should get. And basically, how do I balance these two out? Now, the other thing that we look at here is looking at reinforcement. How do we reinforce positive behavior so that it's repeated, and how do we get rid of negative behavior? And I think most of us are familiar with Pavlov's dog. And when it came to Pavlov, Ivan Pavlov basically looked at it and said, here we go. You give them some sort of reward, it'll break down. We've moved past that to more cognitive awards, realizing that we have a stream of consciousness. I think all of our communication courses, at least the ones I've taken so far, have taught us about stream of consciousness, and that we're consciously learning in our situation. So Pavlov makes it a little too simplistic, but ultimately that's what it is. And that's where we came down to operant conditioning. Right? This is B.F. Skinner, working in education. This is perfect. Basically, he said if you reward positive behavior, you're going to get it time and time again. So if I give my students in class chocolate for giving the right answer, and chocolate is a motivational factor for them, then they're going to answer more questions, work harder to get the chocolate. So if you as a leader can find what that motivation is, and if you know what motivates you, you can have it. Now, the 4 types of reinforcement are the positive, which I've talked about. There's the avoidance, which basically means you have a leader who always says something negative, so you're going to try to do the things that don't create negativity. And so you're going to try to avoid because they're never positive, or they're rarely positive. There's the extinction, where you remove the reward. You used to give it for the same token, now you don't give it anymore. Well, what message does that send to people? It basically says it's not a rewarding endeavor anymore, so I'm not going to do it. Now, maybe it is for the case of the organization, but ultimately that's a major issue. Lastly is punishment, and that's classical as well. You did something wrong, I'm going to punish you so you don't do it ever again. Now, the schedules of reinforcement, as you can read, I'm not going to read them to you, but basically the walk down of these are what determines it, when you should do it, because it's key as leaders that we as motivators find the right reason and the right time to motivate. And that when we do the motivation, as much as the motivation is just as important for creating what we need to create. And that led to the basic organizational behavior model. And basically what it says is identify the problem. It's what we talked about at the beginning. We all know what to do. Identify the problem, create some sort of baseline. What are we expecting? Do some research, what we have and where we need to be. What are the consequences when we get there? Create some sort of strategy to get there. Assess it as we go to see if we are getting there, and then improve. Okay? Ultimately, what's the point? That's what we want to know here. And the bottom line is, I have 3 questions I want you to think about, and I hope that you reply to them and then I can reply back. 1, what motivates you? All right? When you're in a situation, whether it be social, whether it be organizational, what motivates you? All right, and then look at it from the opposite side. We all want to be leaders of organizations. What are you going to do to motivate? What do you think are positive motivational things? And then ultimately, do they match up? Because it's important to know is if what the worker is expecting, the follower is expecting, and the leader gives don't match up, then there's a lack in motivation, and they don't connect, and they need to connect. So, very brief, very quick. I apologize for the speed, but there's a lot to get through. So I hope I was able to help you with motivation a little bit. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.